Hey everyone, welcome to Tuts Plus, and this is Ray Bango. So one of the things that I've been seeing a lot lately, especially as I do a lot of browser compatibility work, is that a lot of developers still aren't minifying their JavaScript. Now, if you're not familiar with what minifying does, it basically compresses your JavaScript down so that as an HTTP request is made for that specific resource, it's substantially smaller, making your web performance substantially faster. So the concept of minification came around quite a while ago by Yahoo's exceptional performance team, and they basically outlined a bunch of tips and techniques that were meant to improve the performance of your websites, and minification was one of those things. And so if you look here, basically it talks about it and it says minification is the practice of removing unnecessary characters from code to reduce its size, thereby improving load time. So if you haven't seen a minified file, let's actually take a look at this so you can get a feel for what I'm talking about. What I did was I went to the jQuery.com site, and of course jQuery is such an ubiquitous library that it made sense to go there, and you can download two different types of versions. You can download the uncompressed version, which you'd usually use during your development cycle, so you can go ahead and test jQuery and know what's actually happening under the hood. But then when you're ready for production, you want to download the compressed version. Let's actually take a look at both versions. So here's jQuery, and here is the uncompressed version. Notice that it's very readable. You can see all the variable names. You can see all the methods that are being called. Very typical stuff that you'd see during your development cycle. And then once you're ready to deploy this, what you'd end up doing is deploying the minified version of jQuery. So if we take a look at here, well, it's actually very far from readable at this point. It's kind of garbled, but there is a substantial size difference. So if we look here, notice that here's jQuery. I'll expand this out a little bit. Bear with me. So notice that the uncompressed version is 267K, while the compressed version, the minified version, is 91K. And so obviously there's a substantial size savings there, and that translates to savings and performance increases on your web pages. So I'm very surprised that this is still an issue, because it's been a best practice for some time. So I wanted to kind of touch on this and point out a couple of tools that you should be looking at if you're not currently minifying your code, and I'll walk you through it so you can see how easy it is to actually do it and create the files themselves. So the first one is the Closure compiler, and this is actually one that was created by Google. It's you download it. It's a JavaScript jar file that allows you to compile your code just on your desktop. Very easy to use, requires Java. So if you go here, just go to developers.google.com, Closure compiler, and it should be there. Now, for the purposes of the demo, I just want to show you how easy it is to actually do it online. And there's an online version of this. So what I'm going to do is grab the actual minified code, grab it all here. I'm going to go back here, and I'm just going to copy and paste it right into the Closure compiler. From there, notice that all the code's in here, and all I have to do is click on compile. Now, as it does this, let me talk about some of the options here. You can do some very limited optimization. You can say, I want to remove white space only. That's fine. You know, that's certainly an option. But I think for the most part, you want to go a little bit further, where some of the names of the variables are renamed to make them a little bit shorter. And that's where the simple option comes in. The advanced option really does some aggressive optimization, and you have to kind of be careful with that. You have to really understand what the modifications are to ensure that your code will actually run. In fact, when you click on here, when it says what optimizations is right for my code, it'll actually go into a little bit more detail. And one of the things it said is that in the advanced option, your code may not run properly. So just be careful about what level of optimization you want to do. I typically go for the simple optimization because it's fairly safe, and it provides a good level of obfuscation and a good level of minification and compression. So if we look here, notice that the original file size was about 245K. That's what the compiler is reporting. And if you use gzip compression, it would be about 74K across the wire. Now, once we compiled it down, look at the file size different. Brought it down to 91, maybe 92K. And when you gzip this, you're actually doing even further compression, and you're sending about 32K across the wire. That's pretty huge. That's a pretty sizable savings. And if you think about the amount of JavaScript that we're using nowadays, this is only one file. Now imagine this type of savings across multiple files. Certainly useful. Now, the other one that all the cool kids like to use is uglify.js. I see it's mentioned all over the place, and it has excellent compression. It also has a lot of integration into third-party tools like grunt.js. So here's the GitHub website. The cool thing about it is that, again, you can run it on your own. It's a Node NPM module, so you can just install Node, install the NPM module, and you're off and running with it. If you want to do it as an online tool, no problem. There's an online version of this. And what you do is you grab, again, the code. I'll do this, copy, and I'm going to paste the code right in here. Now, once I do that, I have the options available to me. I can say I want to compress it, I want to mangle the names, I want to beautify the code. And then once I'm ready to go, I just click on the uglify button. So it goes through its processes. Give it a second, and boom. Now, when it comes down here, notice as it says the original file size was 273K. Now, once it's been minified and compressed, uglify brought it down to about 93K. So it's a fairly sizable difference. So again, in short order, we were able to take a JavaScript library, put it together into one of these online tools, and go ahead and minify it. Notice it isn't readable, but that's the point is not making it readable when it hits across the wire. It's making sure that it's small and that it's functional. Now, again, I mentioned that uglify.js is what a lot of the people are using nowadays, and they use it in conjunction with a tool called Grunt, which is it's a JavaScript-based task manager, and it's fantastic. And so what it allows you to do is specify multiple tasks that you want to run within your development workflow and have those tasks kick off. So one of those tasks can be, for example, minifying your code automatically for you, so you don't have to do this manually all the time. In fact, there's a plugin here called Contrib Uglify, which will actually bring in the dependencies necessary for Uglify to include it into your actual task. We're not going to go into Grunt in this demo, but what I do want to urge you is to look at this particular tutorial that we have on here by Andrew Burgess. It goes into Grunt and how to leverage it. So once you have an understanding of Grunt and how you can create the package manifest files, then from there you can go ahead and create your own task, which will include uglify.js or perhaps the Clojure compiler. Again, the key thing is that these can work both offline and you have online versions of these tools. So it's entirely up to you, and you can decide how you're going to incorporate it into your workflow. The key thing though is to go ahead and do this. This will save you file size. It'll increase the performance of your website, and it really is a best practice. If you're not familiar with the best practices that have been outlined by the exceptional performance team at Yahoo, just go ahead and visit this URL right here, developer.yahoo.com/performance. And from there, you're going to get a lot of great tips that are still valuable to this day on helping you improve the overall performance of your website. I hope this helps you out. It's a quick and dirty tip, just kind of a rehash of something that I've been seeing quite a bit, and hopefully it'll remind some developers that, hey, you know, performance matters, and we gotta do whatever we can to squeeze every bit of perf out of our websites. Take care, and thanks for listening.